every member of the Black Ajah before you die.
They're the most feared Ajah in the White Tower, hunters of male channelers, enforcers of ancient laws, and wearers of crimson robes that seem to drip with menace. But what if we've misunderstood them all along? The Red Ajah of the Wheel of Time isn't just about anger or control. Behind their stern faces and iron discipline lies a history of trauma, sacrifice, and unbearable loneliness. Are they the villains or the victims of a broken world? This is the hidden tragedy of the Red Ajah, one you may never have truly seen until now. A mission built on fear. The Red Ajah was not born out of pride or ambition. It was born out of desperation. In the aftermath of the breaking of the world, male channelers became the greatest threat to the survival of civilization. With Satan corrupted by the Dark One's taint, every man who could channel was doomed to madness and eventual catastrophe. Cities were razed, lands shattered, and countless lives lost because of what male channelers, once noble and respected, became under the Shadow's touch. In this devastation, the Red Ajah rose not as hunters, but as guardians. Their mission was to find these men and cut them off from the One Power, to gentle them before they could lose control and repeat the horrors of the breaking. It was a mission born from necessity, but also from unbearable trauma. Every Red Sister carries the weight of 1,000 shattered cities and memories passed down of a world once brought to its knees. Their purpose, from the very beginning, has been sacrifice, to become the shield that takes on the hatred of the world, all to protect it from a deeper darkness. This makes their mission inherently tragic. They are feared and hated for what they do, yet what they do is driven not by cruelty, but by a sense of duty so consuming that it burns away anything softer within them. Where other Ajahs pursue knowledge, healing, or diplomacy, the Red Ajah chooses vigilance and confrontation. Their lives are defined by conflict, isolation, and the unending burden of knowing that no one will thank them for it. Loneliness as a way of life. No Ajah within the White Tower is as emotionally cut off as the Red. Unlike the Green Ajah, which embraces multiple warders and the chaos of battle, or the Blue Ajah, which thrives on cause and connection, the Red Ajah walks alone. They famously avoid bonding warders, not because they cannot, but because they will not allow themselves the luxury of attachment. The Red Sisters' path is one of solitude, forged from the belief that closeness leads to weakness, and weakness leads to failure. This rejection of intimacy isn't just a rule, it's a defense mechanism. Many Red Sisters come to the Ajah having experienced personal loss tied to male channelers. Some saw fathers, brothers, or lovers fall to madness. Others grew up in the ruins left behind by channeling men who could no longer control their power. For these women, joining the Red Ajah isn't about ideology, it's about self-preservation. They shut the world out before it can hurt them again. But the cost of this emotional self-exile is immense. Red Sisters are notorious for their rigidity, their refusal to laugh or engage in anything that could be considered vulnerability. Over time, many lose themselves entirely to their duty. Without the support of warders or the emotional openness of other Ajahs, Red Sisters become islands, self-contained and unreachable. The Tower sees them as stern and unfeeling, but the truth is far more tragic. They've been hurt so deeply, so thoroughly, that they've chosen to never feel again. Vilified by the world they serve, the Red Ajah may serve the light, but they are often seen through the eyes of suspicion and fear. Among common folk, Red Sisters are the bogeymen of bedtime stories, cold-hearted witches who steal men from their homes and leave them broken husks. Even within the White Tower, Reds are frequently viewed with wariness, their presence unsettling, their methods questioned. The reputation of the Red Ajah as harsh, authoritarian, and joyless has been etched into the world's collective imagination for centuries. But what makes this perception so tragic is how wildly it misses the truth. Red Sisters carry out one of the most dangerous and emotionally draining tasks in the Tower. They do the work no one else wants to do, confronting madness, restraining chaos, and ending the lives of those who, through no fault of their own, are doomed to destruction. Their choices are not easy, and their hands are never clean. They operate in moral grayness every single day, and they do it without praise, without gratitude, and often without support. This public vilification creates a vicious cycle. The more feared they are, the more isolated they become. The more isolated they are, the colder and more withdrawn they appear. And so the world continues to misunderstand them, even as they sacrifice their humanity to save it. The tragedy isn't just that the world fears them, it's that the Red Ajah knows it, accepts it, and carries on anyway. A Tower Divided. The Red Ajah's role in the politics of the White Tower is one of both dominance and estrangement. Historically, Reds have held considerable power, and many Amerlin seats have risen from their ranks. Their militant philosophy and ability to enforce discipline have made them a formidable force in tower affairs. Yet this power often comes with a price. Their presence in tower politics is frequently seen as heavy-handed, even tyrannical. Where the Grey Ajah seeks compromise and the Blue Ajah pushes reform, the Red Ajah is the iron fist that demands compliance. This creates deep tension between the Ajahs. Reds are often accused of overreach, of letting their fear of male channelers bleed into paranoia and oppression. Their refusal to work alongside men in any capacity has put them at odds with newer, more progressive elements within the tower. As Rand al'Thor rises and the world's balance shifts, the Red Ajah's refusal to adapt becomes more glaring and more isolating. Yet it would be a mistake to think of the Red Ajah as blind to these changes. Many within its ranks wrestle with the world's evolution. Some question their own role, wondering if they have been too rigid, too rooted in fear. Others double down, convinced that any deviation from tradition is a betrayal of everything the tower stands for. These internal divisions reflect a deeper tragedy, that the Red Ajah, in trying to protect the world, may have trapped itself in an identity forged by pain, unable to evolve, even when the world demands it. The shadow within. Perhaps the cruelest irony of the Red Ajah's history is that despite their unwavering vigilance, their obsession with rooting out threats to the world, they were among the most deeply infiltrated by the Black Ajah, the secret sect of Aes Sedai who served the Dark One. The very Ajah sworn to defend the world from male channelers, and by extension, from the Dark One's chaos, became a hiding place for his servants. This bitter truth hits the Red Ajah harder than any other. It is more than a failure of security. It is a violation of their core identity. They existed to guard the light, to bear the burden of moral clarity so that others would not have to. And yet, in their ranks walked some of the very enemies they swore to destroy. This betrayal leaves lasting scars on the Red Sisters who remained loyal. Not only must they reckon with the fact that their order harbored darkness, they must now carry the suspicion of their fellow sisters. In the Wheel of Time, few things are more painful than realizing your greatest sacrifices may have served the wrong side. For the Red Ajah, this infiltration is not just an operational failure. It is a spiritual wound. It turns their already burdened sense of duty into a kind of self-loathing. How can they defend the light if they can't even defend their own halls? How can they maintain their identity when the very idea of being red has been tainted by betrayal? And still, many Red Sisters do not abandon their calling. Even as suspicion mounts and their reputation crumbles, they press forward. That quiet endurance, gritting their teeth against the shame and doing the work anyway, may be the clearest sign of their tragic nobility. They were infiltrated not because they were weak, but because they were strong. And that strength made them the perfect shield for enemies who wanted to hide in plain sight. Liandrin and the Scars of Representation. If any single figure casts a long shadow over the Red Ajah in the eyes of readers and viewers alike, it's Liandrin Gurel. Introduced as a cold and controlling Red, Liandrin becomes one of the most infamous members of the Black Ajah. Her manipulations, cruelty, and betrayal are some of the earliest and most visible signs that not all Aes Sedai serve the light. But her presence also deeply distorts public perception of the Red Ajah as a whole. Liandrin isn't just a traitor, she's a caricature. Everything the world already fears about Red Sisters is amplified in her. The absence of empathy, the ruthless pursuit of control, the disdain for male channelers that borders on sadism. Her role as a turncoat reinforces every stereotype about the Red Ajah. even as it undermines the countless women in her Ajah who remained loyal, who carried the weight of their duty with integrity. But Liandrin's story also offers a window into the emotional damage that the Red Ajah's doctrine can cause. Her disdain isn't born in a vacuum. It comes from pain, from the rigid repression of vulnerability, from a worldview that has taught her to trust nothing and no one. She becomes a villain because the system around her leaves no room for healing. And that's what makes her tragic too, not just for what she becomes, but for what she might have been in a world that allowed Red Sisters to grieve, to love, to connect. Liandrin is a warning, not just of corruption, but of emotional starvation. And in portraying her fall, the Wheel of Time subtly indicts the Red Ajah's culture of silence. What happens to a woman when all her pain is weaponized? When duty means isolation and vigilance becomes paranoia? Liandrin shows us one answer, but she's likely not the only one. Hope for the future. Despite their burdens, the Red Ajah is not beyond redemption. As the world changes and the last battle approaches, the Red Sisters begin to face new truths. Chief among them, the taint on Satan has been cleansed. Male channelers are no longer doomed to madness. This revelation shakes the foundations of the Red Ajah's entire identity. If men are no longer inherently dangerous, then what is the purpose of a Red Sister? The answer lies in adaptation, and it is here that some of the Red Ajah's most powerful transformations begin. In the later stages of the series, and particularly under Egwene, Alvair's influence as a Merlin seed, the White Tower begins to open dialogue with the Black Tower. Tentative alliances form. Red Sisters, for the first time in history, begin to see male channelers not as threats to be neutralized, but as potential allies. It is a seismic shift, not just in policy, but in worldview. This evolution does not erase the Red Ajah's past, but it gives it new meaning. The trauma that once defined them becomes experience. The isolation becomes a source of inner strength. And perhaps most importantly, the Red Sisters begin to reclaim their agency, not as the tools of fear, but as women who choose, every day, to do what is difficult and necessary. There's hope in that. The Red Ajah, long seen as rigid and unforgiving, proves that even the most wounded institutions can heal, that even the deepest fears can give way to understanding. And in a world built on balance, Sadar and Satan, light and shadow, the Red Ajah finally begins to find its place not in fear, but in purpose. Final thoughts. The Red Ajah stands as a testament to the complicated nature of duty, fear, and sacrifice. They are not the warmest Ajah or the most beloved. They are not the ones who heal or inspire or negotiate. They are the ones who do the work no one wants to admit is necessary. And they do it without thanks, often without kindness, and sometimes without understanding. But underneath their cold exterior lies something deeply human: sorrow. The Red Ajah is built on loss, on what was destroyed, what must be prevented, and what they are willing to give up to keep the world turning. They are tragic not because they are wrong, but because they were right too early, too often, and for too long to remember what it feels like to hope. And yet, in the end, it is the Red Ajah that teaches us something essential: that strength without connection is not enough. That guarding the world means more than just eliminating threats. It means learning how to live in it. And that healing doesn't just come from light. It comes from understanding the shadows too.